Chosen one, heaven has seen your tears. Not one has fallen unnoticed. Not one has touched the ground without echoing in eternity. Every silent cry you whispered in the dark when no one understood, when no one saw, when even your own reflection looked weary, heaven did. You've carried a quiet ache, haven't you? An ache that words could never express, the weight of losses no one else could see. You smiled for others while bleeding within. You kept moving while carrying invisible wounds. But God says to you now, I have seen, I have heard, and I am sending restoration. This is not a small word. This is not comfort for a fleeting moment. It is a divine declaration. Because something sacred has been happening behind the veil of your pain. Heaven was watching the moments you thought were wasted. Heaven was collecting the tears you thought were forgotten. And now the very things that broke you are becoming the soil for your restoration. You see, the tears of the chosen are never in vain. They water the seeds of destiny. They fall in secret but bloom in seasons of divine revealing. And while others may have dismissed your struggle, heaven has kept record of every sacrifice, every prayer, every act of kindness, every choice to love when it hurt. This message comes in divine timing, not a second too soon, not a second too late. Because what is being restored to you now is not just what was lost, it is multiplied. God is saying, for every tear there will be joy. For every night of sorrow there will be a morning of laughter. You've entered a turning point, the moment where pain shifts into purpose and ashes turn into beauty. You are standing at the doorway of restoration, and heaven is about to move in ways that no one, not even you, expected. So listen closely, because in the moments ahead, this word will reveal how your tears have become the very key that unlocks what was once closed. This is your confirmation. This is your restoration. And heaven is saying, it begins now. When heaven speaks, it doesn't whisper to the crowd, it calls the chosen by name. And when this message reached you, it wasn't by coincidence or chance. It found you because heaven aligned this very moment to remind you that you have never been forgotten. There are moments in life when the noise of the world tries to drown out the divine, when confusion clouds what once felt certain, and your faith begins to tremble under the weight of delay. But even then, there is a voice that moves beyond time, a voice that still speaks, still heals, still restores. That voice is speaking now. It's not the echo of a human promise. It's not the comfort of imagination. It is the still, steady voice of the one who said, I will wipe away every tear from their eyes. The one who saw you when you stood in silence, wrestling between hope and heartbreak. The one who collected your tears, not as waste, but as worship proof that even in pain you did not turn away. This word is sent to you because the heavens have issued a command. The drought in your spirit is ending. The delay in your destiny is breaking. What was withheld is now being released. For too long it seemed as though the heavens were silent, as if your prayers were slipping into the void. But the truth is, every prayer was stored. Every cry was documented. Every tear was recorded in divine archives. And now those records are being opened. The angels assigned to your restoration have been activated. The same hands that allowed you to be pressed will now lift you to be presented. The same God who permitted the breaking is the one declaring, now comes the rebuilding. Restoration is not just the return of what was lost, it is the renewal of what was weakened. It is the reawakening of your strength, your joy, your peace. It is heaven breathing again upon the parts of you that went numb in survival. So as you listen to these words, don't hear them as mere encouragement. Hear them as a decree, a royal order from the throne room. Heaven has already moved on your behalf. Even now, unseen shifts are taking place, doors are aligning, hearts are softening, resources are being prepared. The delay you endured was divine calibration. The silence was strategy. And the pain was not punishment, it was preparation for what your hands are about to hold. The same eyes that watched your tears are now watching your rising. Heaven has seen, heaven remembers, and heaven restores. Heaven has declared that the season of hidden sorrow is closing. The pages soaked with your tears are being rewritten in gold. For every moment you thought was the end, God was quietly drafting a beginning far greater than your imagination could hold. This is the moment where divine recompense begins to unfold. Everything the enemy tried to steal your peace, your confidence, your sense of belonging, your spark for life. Heaven is restoring it in fullness, not partially, not symbolically, but tangibly, visibly, undeniably. You have felt weary from waiting, haven't you? You have wondered if all those prayers, all those fasts, all those moments of surrender actually mattered. But here is the truth. Every seed of faith you planted in pain is now reaching harvest. And heaven is saying, you will see what your faith has been working on all along. The restoration coming to your life is layered, spiritual, emotional, relational, even physical. Where the enemy sowed loss, heaven is sending increase. Where the world planted rejection, heaven is planting recognition. Where betrayal left you empty, divine favor is about to overflow. This word is not just comfort, it's activation. Because God is not only healing what was broken, He's positioning you in places you once felt unworthy to stand. He's restoring your dignity before those who doubted you. He's opening doors that no apology could unlock, no effort could earn. He's turning hearts that once turned cold. In the unseen realm, angelic hands are rearranging what belongs to you. Opportunities that passed you by are circling back with new timing. People who walked away were part of the pruning, not punishment. For God says, I had to remove what was temporary so I could establish what is eternal. There's been a holy reversal set in motion. The tears you cried in private are calling forth joy in public. The nights of loneliness are being exchanged for divine companionship. The same ground that once buried you in despair will now bloom with destiny. Even now heaven is speaking over you. Restoration is not coming as it was before. It's coming with acceleration. For I am redeeming the years that were devoured. I am multiplying the harvest from seeds you forgot you planted. I am returning what was lost, and I am doing it swiftly. You may not see it yet, but the spiritual landscape around you is shifting. The weight you felt is not heaviness anymore. It's the gravity of breakthrough pressing through the veil. Something sacred is rising. And deep in your spirit, you can already sense it, a stirring that whispers, something is about to happen. Don't mistake that restlessness for anxiety. It's heaven awakening you to alignment. Because when restoration begins, the atmosphere around you trembles. Paths open where there were walls, favor flows where there was resistance, and peace begins to flood the places where chaos once reigned. You're entering a divine exchange. God is trading your tears for testimony. He's taking your weariness and weaving it into wisdom. He's turning your heartbreak into holy power. The restoration that's coming won't just repair what was broken, it will redefine who you are. No longer the wounded one, no longer the forgotten one. You will be seen as the one who endured, who overcame, who held faith even when it hurt. Heaven calls you the restored, and soon those who once pitied you will witness the glory surrounding you. They'll wonder how the same person who once cried in silence now carries such light, such calm, such strength. But you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It was divine restoration. So breathe. Let the tears that once carried pain now carry release. Heaven has already moved. The decree is signed, and restoration is already in motion. Tears have always been sacred currency in heaven. They are not weakness, they are worship. They are the language of the soul when words fall silent. And when heaven sees them fall, it does not see despair, it sees devotion. There is something profoundly spiritual about the way pain reshapes the spirit of the chosen. While the world sees loss, heaven sees preparation. While the world sees endings, heaven sees refinement. Every trial that broke you was allowed only because something holy was being formed in you: endurance, compassion, and divine authority. Restoration is not a random act. It's a divine equation. For every moment of sorrow, heaven writes a corresponding chapter of redemption. And the reason the delay has been so long is because restoration requires transformation, not just of your circumstances, but of your soul. You see, pain is heaven's classroom. The breaking was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to train you to carry blessing without breaking under it. God had to let you taste emptiness so that when overflow comes, you would know how to pour it wisely. He had to let you walk through silence so that when He speaks again, you'll recognize His voice in every wind, every whisper. In divine mathematics, nothing is wasted. Every tear was a seed. Every disappointment was a shovel preparing the soil. Every heartbreak was heaven plowing your ground for greater growth. And now that soil wet with your tears is rich with promise. This is the paradox of the chosen life heaven elevates through endurance. Glory grows from grief, and the most radiant anointing is often birthed from the darkest season. When you wept, the heavens moved. When you fell to your knees, angels descended. When you whispered, "God, I can't anymore," heaven replied, "You won't have to because I will." There is a holy mystery in pain. It removes the unnecessary so that only truth remains. Your suffering peeled away illusions, attachments, and fears. It stripped away what was built on pride and left only what could survive the storm: your faith. And now that faith has weight. It carries authority in the spirit realm. Your prayers no longer sound like hope, they sound like command. Because those who have bled in secret speak with a power that only heaven recognizes. So when restoration comes, it's not simply reward, it's recognition. Heaven honors those who remained faithful in the fire. The ones who refused to curse God in the dark, who kept believing when nothing made sense, who still gave, still loved, still served. That's why restoration doesn't return things the way they were, it makes them new. Because you are not who you were when you lost them. The version of you that is rising now carries oil that was crushed from sorrow, wisdom that was carved from waiting, and peace that was learned in silence. Look back for a moment, not in regret, but in revelation. Can you see how what once felt random now fits perfectly into a pattern? The betrayals that hurt you actually redirected you. The delays that frustrated you actually protected you. The prayers that seemed unanswered actually saved you from what wasn't meant for your destiny. You see, the divine always hides purpose inside paradox. You were asking for breakthrough, so God gave you breaking. You were asking for strength, so He gave you storms. You were asking for clarity, so He gave you silence. Because heaven knows that true understanding is born not in ease, but in endurance. Now that the shaping is complete, the season of sorrow is closing. The potter has finished molding the vessel, and what was once fragile is now fortified. You are not returning to who you were. You are stepping into who you were meant to be all along. Every scar, every tear, every moment you thought was wasted has become part of your divine armor. You are carrying evidence proof that God redeems what others abandon. Proof that faith still works. Proof that heaven still restores. And the deeper meaning of this restoration is not simply that you will receive. It's that you will reflect. You will reflect God's mercy to others who are still breaking. You will reflect peace to those still crying in the dark. You will carry the fragrance of someone who has seen God in the fire and found him faithful. This dear soul is the hidden purpose of your pain. Heaven was not punishing you, it was promoting you. And the tears that once blurred your vision are now polishing your crown. The season of meaninglessness is over. Now begins the season of revelation. And soon you will not just understand why you suffered, you will thank God that you did. When heaven begins to restore, the evidence first appears quietly, not in thunder, but in whispers. Restoration does not always arrive with visible fireworks. It begins in the subtle shifts of your spirit. You begin to feel something different stirring within, an unexplainable calm. A holy reassurance that something is changing, even if your surroundings haven't caught up yet. That peace you've been feeling lately, the one that doesn't make sense, the one that appears in the middle of unanswered questions, that is your first sign. Peace is heaven's signature on a new beginning. It is God's way of saying the battle has been decided in your favor. Then you'll notice doors that once resisted you beginning to move. Emails, messages, or opportunities that seemed delayed suddenly arrive. People who once overlooked you begin to take notice. Situations that drained you lose their power over your emotions. You'll find yourself no longer chasing what once consumed you because heaven is bringing it to you instead. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are God's fingerprints marking your path. Another sign will be the softening of your heart. Where bitterness once tried to take root, you'll feel compassion rising instead. You'll remember the people who hurt you, and instead of pain, you'll feel release. That's not weakness, that's divine healing taking place. Because restoration is never just about regaining things. It's about reclaiming your peace. You may also begin to sense divine timing moving around you. Moments align. Conversations carry meaning. Songs, numbers, dreams, and even random words from strangers seem to echo the same truth. It's your time. The spiritual realm begins to synchronize with your new season. You'll feel as if heaven itself is winking at you, saying, "Do you see it now? We're moving." Another confirmation comes through inner clarity. The fog that once clouded your purpose starts to lift. You wake up with vision again, with hunger, with direction, with peace about things that once felt chaotic. This clarity is proof that heaven has touched your mind and restored your sense of divine alignment. And then there's the most overlooked sign of all joy. Not the fleeting kind that depends on circumstance, but the quiet joy that sits in your chest like light. You'll catch yourself smiling for no reason. You'll notice gratitude rising more often than complaint. This is not delusion, it's resurrection. It's the spirit remembering what it feels like to be alive again. So when you begin to feel peace that makes no sense, when you see small doors creak open, when you forgive without forcing it, when clarity replaces confusion, when joy wakes you up before the morning does, rejoice. These are not small things. They are divine indicators. They are heaven's way of whispering. Restoration has already begun. Keep walking. You're right on time. Before restoration fully blooms, there is often a final stretch, the narrow passage between what was promised and what is seen. It's the moment when heaven is silent again, not because you've been forgotten, but because you're being fortified. This is the hidden challenge of divine restoration. The closer you are to breakthrough, the stronger the resistance becomes. It's not punishment, it's proof. The enemy only fights what's about to emerge in glory. You may begin to feel strange tension in your atmosphere. Spiritual fatigue, sudden opposition, unexpected misunderstandings. People who once supported you may grow distant, not out of malice, but because heaven is rearranging your circle to fit your new season. Don't panic when this happens. The pruning before promotion is essential. God removes what cannot carry the weight of what's coming next. There may also be moments where your emotions fluctuate, joy one day, weariness the next. That's not regression, it's transition. You're crossing the invisible line between seasons, and your spirit is recalibrating to the new frequency of peace. In this stage, the enemy often whispers, "Nothing's changing." But listen carefully when you hear that lie. It's a sign that change is already underway. The darkness always speaks loudest right before the dawn. There will be tests of patience, delays that tempt you to doubt what God said, opportunities that seem perfect but are designed to distract. In these moments, you must remember not every open door is divine, and not every delay is denial. Sometimes heaven slows the pace so your heart won't outrun your wisdom. The most subtle challenge, though, is inner restlessness, that quiet unease that whispers, "Am I ready?" It's normal to feel that. Restoration requires you to accept goodness again, to believe that you're worthy of peace after so many storms. And that can feel uncomfortable when you've lived so long in survival mode. You may even feel guilt for moving on from what hurt you. But hear this truth: you are not betraying your past by healing. You are honoring it by letting it teach you. You're not abandoning what you lost. You're releasing what no longer serves your destiny. Sometimes the hardest part of restoration is learning how to receive again. How to rest after years of warfare. How to smile without bracing for the next heartbreak. Heaven is teaching you now that peace is not the absence of struggle, it's the presence of divine order. So if the days ahead feel strange, if emotions rise and fall, if people shift and doors rearrange, take heart. You are not losing control, you are gaining alignment. Everything unstable is being shaken so that only the unshakable remains. Hold steady through this final refining, because just beyond this tension lies testimony. And when the dust settles, what's meant for you will not just return, it will remain. Restoration does not arrive to the unprepared. It is not a random blessing that falls into idle hands. It is a sacred inheritance entrusted to those who have endured the refining fire. Heaven restores with purpose, and purpose always requires posture. In this season, the divine instruction is clear. Be ready to receive differently than before. The way you prayed in the wilderness cannot be the same way you walk in the promise. The survival habits that once protected you cannot accompany you into abundance. You are being called to shift from striving to surrender, from endurance to embodiment. The first instruction is silence. Not silence born of fear, but silence born of trust. There are blessings forming that do not need to be announced before they are established. Heaven is urging you guard your revelation until it takes root. Some things grow best in quiet soil. Not everyone who clapped for your healing can handle your harvest. Learn to speak less and pray more. Your words are the walls around your promise. The second instruction is alignment. This restoration requires you to live in agreement with heaven, not emotion. There will be moments when the past tries to call you back, old habits, old cycles, old voices. Do not answer them. You are not obligated to return to what you've outgrown. Choose peace even when familiarity tempts you with comfort. If God removed it, it cannot remain. Protect your new season with obedience, even when obedience feels lonely. The third instruction is discernment. Every restored soul attracts attention, some divine, some deceptive. When new people enter your life, weigh their energy by their fruit. Do they bring peace or confusion? Do they fan your faith or drain your focus? Heaven is sending helpers in disguise, but the enemy sends distractions wrapped in light. You must listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. Your discernment is your shield in this next phase. The fourth instruction is gratitude. Even before the full manifestation, give thanks. Thank God for what's forming in silence. Thank Him for what didn't work for it. redirected you. Gratitude accelerates restoration. It tells heaven, I'm already ready. Every thank you becomes a magnet for more grace. Your gratitude is not just expression, it is participation in the miracle itself. The fifth instruction is faith in motion. Restoration is not passive. You must move as though it's already done. If God says, right, right. If He says, release, release. If He says, forgive, forgive. Faith is heaven's language, and obedience is its echo. When you act in faith, the natural world bends to match divine intention. Do not wait to feel ready. Heaven moves when you act ready. And finally, the sixth instruction, rest. Rest is not laziness, it's trust in divine timing. The one who has truly believed does not fear missing out. God's plan for you has no competition, no expiration. You cannot lose what was custom-made for your spirit. Heaven is saying, you've fought long enough. Now let me fight for you. Lay down the anxiety of control. Pick up the peace of completion. So in this hour, live these instructions like sacred rhythm. Silence so you can hear heaven clearly. Alignment so nothing divides your focus. Discernment so your circle mirrors your calling. Gratitude so your atmosphere invites miracles. Faith in motion so heaven sees your readiness. Rest so your spirit remains anchored while the winds of blessing blow. These are not rules. They are invitations. Each one draws you closer to the heart of God and trains you to carry restoration with grace. Because soon, when what you've prayed for finally arrives, you won't have to chase it, explain it, or prove it. You will simply walk in it quietly, steadily, powerfully. And those watching will say, something about them has changed. They'll be right. You'll have stepped fully into alignment with divine order, and restoration will no longer be a promise. It will be your reality. Even now, as heaven restores divine protection encircles you. You are not walking into this season unguarded. You are covered by covenant. The same God who saw your tears is the one who now surrounds your steps. When God restores, He doesn't just give you blessings, He builds boundaries around them. Every new door is shielded by unseen angels. Every path forward is lined with favor that blocks what doesn't belong. Even the storms that rise will only water what heaven has planted for you. You have been through battles that should have broken you, yet you're still standing. That's not luck. That's protection. The traps that were set for you failed because heaven rerouted you without your awareness. You think you changed your mind. In truth, God redirected your path. There were phone calls you didn't answer, relationships that suddenly dissolved, plans that collapsed without explanation. That was divine interception. Heaven saw what you couldn't. Heaven moved where you wouldn't. And heaven preserved what you didn't know needed saving. The hand of God has been guarding you from behind the scenes, not only from danger, but from delay, from distraction, from anything that could contaminate your promise. There are things you thought you lost, but if you could see what was attached to them, you'd thank God they're gone. So breathe easy. You don't have to fight to keep what heaven has ordained. What is divine cannot be destroyed by human hands. The same power that raised you from despair will sustain you in destiny. When fear tries to whisper, what if it all falls apart again? Remember this. The foundation is different now. The new blessings are rooted in obedience, not opportunity. They are anchored in purpose, not popularity. And what is built on obedience cannot be stolen by opposition. You are surrounded, not just metaphorically, literally. There are angels assigned to your name, watching over your rest, your travel, your work, your home. You may not see them, but you'll feel their peace, the unexplainable calm that arrives in moments that should have broken you. Even in the coming days, if chaos stirs around you, stand still. Heaven's armies are already positioned. You are not exposed, you are enveloped. And no weapon formed against you will prosper, because heaven will not allow what was restored to be reversed. You are protected not only by divine power, but by divine promise. And God's promises never expire. Every word spoken over you is still active, still alive, still standing guard until it is fulfilled. Rest easy. Heaven has not only seen your tears, heaven now shields your future. You are safe. You are sealed. You are sustained by the hand of the Almighty. There comes a moment when the storm quiets, and you realize the silence you feared was never emptiness. It was peace. That's where you stand now. The season of breaking has turned into the season of becoming. The pieces that once felt shattered beyond repair are forming a mosaic of meaning more beautiful than before. Your nights are no longer soaked in sorrow, but in stillness. Your mornings carry a different sound, not of anxiety, but of awakening. You feel lighter, freer, wiser. You find yourself laughing again, not because everything is perfect, but because your heart finally remembers how to breathe. This is the transformation heaven promised. It's subtle at first, a gentleness where bitterness once lived, a fire where fear once ruled. Your eyes see differently now. You no longer chase validation, you radiate purpose. You no longer seek to prove your worth, you simply walk in it. Restoration has changed your rhythm. You no longer rush what's divine. You trust the pauses as much as the promises. You understand that delay was never denial. It was divine timing, perfecting what you would soon carry. Relationships begin to realign. People who carry the same frequency of peace start appearing. Where gossip once followed you, grace now covers you. You attract stability, truth, and love that mirrors heaven's heart for you. Doors open that you didn't even knock on, not because of striving, but because of divine recognition. Your name is whispered in rooms you've never entered. Opportunities find you because heaven has stamped you with favor. Financial burdens lift. Creative visions flow again. Ideas that once felt impossible now come with blueprints, helpers, and divine connections. Every area that was barren begins to bear fruit. But the most remarkable transformation isn't external. It's the way you see God now. He's no longer just the one who rescues you from pain. He's the one who walked with you through it. You see his fingerprints on every tear, every detour, every delay. And you realize he never withheld from you. He was preparing you. You carry a new authority now. When you speak, peace follows. When you pray, heaven moves. Your very presence becomes prophetic, not because of your words, but because of your endurance. The enemy thought your tears would drown you, but they baptized you. The fire that was meant to consume you refined you. The silence that tried to break you became the place where God spoke most clearly. Now, when people look at you, they won't just see a survivor. They'll see a sign. You will embody what restoration looks like. You will be living proof that God still lifts, still heals, still restores. And the best part, the part that will make you weep in awe, is this. You'll realize that everything you thought you lost was never truly gone. It was simply waiting for the right version of you to return to it. The healed you, the whole you, the anointed you. And when that realization settles in your spirit, gratitude will pour from you like rivers. You will thank God not only for what he gave, but for what he took, because now you see that everything he removed was making room for everything he promised. This is the season of fulfillment. The chapter where mourning turns into dancing. Where the weeping that endured for the night gives way to joy in the morning. It's not a distant prophecy anymore. It's unfolding now. And heaven is smiling, saying, "Look at you. You made it through the fire, and now you shine." Take a deep breath. Feel the calm in your chest. This is not the end of your story. This is the unveiling of it. Heaven has seen your tears, and heaven has answered. What once felt like loss has turned into foundation. What once broke you has become the place where light now pours in. You have stepped out of the wilderness and into wonder. This is your time of restoration. Now let these words settle in your spirit. Repeat them slowly, not as wishes, but as decrees. Affirmation 1. I am divinely restored. Everything meant to break me has built me instead. Affirmation 2. Peace surrounds me, favor follows me, and heaven fights for me. Affirmation 3. I walk in divine timing. Nothing can delay what God has ordained for my life. Affirmation 4. My tears were seeds, and now I walk in the harvest of joy. Say them again softly. Let them become rhythm in your breathing, anchor in your faith. Every affirmation is a key unlocking the next door. Every declaration reminds the atmosphere heaven's word over my life will not return void. Now receive this blessing. May your nights be lighter and your mornings overflow with peace. May your steps move in rhythm with divine alignment. May every shadow of sorrow fade before the dawn that's breaking over you. May those who once doubted your survival witness your rising and glorify God through your story. May your hands never be empty again, not of provision, not of purpose, not of peace. May the same God who saw your tears now crown you with laughter. May every seed of pain spring forth as beauty, and every delay return as double portion. You are no longer defined by what you lost. You are identified by what you've become, refined, radiant, restored. So go forward now, not as the broken one, but as the beloved. Not as the waiting one, but as the walking testimony. You carry heaven's signature on your life, and no force on earth can erase it. Heaven has seen, heaven has moved, heaven has restored, and it is done, it is sealed, it is fulfilled. In divine alignment, in perfect peace, amen.